Welcome to the June 2019 edition of City Connection. It's the live television program with Grand Rapids Mayor Rosalind Bliss. With Community Media Center, I'm your host Linda Galash, and we come together to offer the opportunity to the community members to hear about efforts from City Hall and beyond, and we'll also provide opportunity for your questions and comments later in the show. Today we also welcome into the studio Becky Jo Glover from the Office of Customer Service and Innovation at the City. We'll learn about efforts to help citizens better connect with the city government, including the 311 system and City's website launched new last year. Your opportunity to take part in the live conversation comes later in the second half of the show, and you can do that. We'll tell you how. It'll include email. It's City Connection and grcmc.org. We'll also allow you to use Twitter. It's at GRTV Access. Facebook is also a good way to connect with us. So it is June. It's summer. It's actually here.
Officially.
Yeah, and I know it's official because today the pool's opened.
Yes.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal. So our 3 pools and splash pads open today, and I hope it's warm enough for lots of little ones to be out there and enjoying it. So we had a big party launch. We're really hopeful that we have just as many people turn out this year as we did last year.
So how many pools do we have open? It includes splash pads?
Yeah, so we have our 3 big pools. The smaller ones over the past couple of years have actually been demolished and redeveloped as part of our park redevelopment plans. So there's the park at Briggs, at Martin Luther King, and at Richmond. And so we'll be hopefully out there every day. There may be a few rain days, but overall they'll be open, and we are hopeful that families get out and take advantage of those great resources.
Pretty affordable if you're a resident of the city, $1 for per kiddo, and then a couple dollars per adult, and even non-residents can get in on this for a pretty good price.
Yes, and I should also say that we wouldn't be able to do it without the support of the voters. So part of the Parks, Pools, and Playground millage that passed several years ago included funding for the 3 big pools.
Okay. Well, when you think of summer, you not only think of swimming pools, but you also think of fireworks. And you were just mentioning to me right before going on air that there is opportunity to change the ordinance or the rules regarding fireworks. And tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. It's actually on our agenda for tomorrow at Committee of the Whole, and then at our evening meeting. And we'll be exploring amending our current fireworks ordinance. And there's a couple changes in it that will reduce the number of days that folks in the city can utilize commercial grade fireworks. So you may recall several years ago the state changed the rules to allow commercial grade fireworks. They allowed local units of government to limit the usage of those in public spaces like parks, so you can't use fireworks in parks or public spaces. And then they allowed us to limit the number of days around the major holidays. So last year, there were about 30 days in the year that legally you could use them in the city. The state legislature in June, they started talking about it last year, but in December they finally passed legislation that allowed local units of government to reduce the days even more down to about 12. So that is what is before us tomorrow. And then they also, the state, they put in language around fines to increase the fines and have 50% of the fines go to local public safety, police and fire, because of the significant impact that it's had on their calls from residents.
Okay, so we've lived with this for a few years now. It was all in the name of the economy and bringing some business to the state, and now it's some real life experience and some revision time. What do you hear? What do you typically hear? You said earlier, fire department hears a lot. What's happening?
Well, I heard it more so when I was a commissioner, and I know my colleagues on the commission still get complaints, but typically, especially around the holidays, 4th of July is coming up, and we have a lot of calls from families who are getting woke up, or babies crying, or dogs scared, and feeling like they're let off too close to houses, especially in our real densely populated neighborhoods. We get in fact, I just got an email today from a woman who says that there have been some folks lighting off fireworks in one of our parks, so we'll respond to that appropriately. And so we're hoping that by reducing the number of days and also limiting how late at night you can blow them off, hopefully we'll be able to address a lot of concerns that have been raised.
Okay, the things of summer.
I know, there's great things about summer and some not so great.
Yeah, and that makes me think of this coming weekend, the big festival here in Grand Rapids, Festival of the Arts. So we'll be down on here as GRTV will be broadcasting, but
Yeah.
this is a big event for Grand Rapids, and is it the 50th anniversary this year?
This is the 50th anniversary of the installation of La Grand Vitesse, which was historic in our city. So having Alexander Calder, one of the preeminent sculptors and artists really in the world, come and create this beautiful piece. It was not without controversy 50 years ago, but since then has become really the symbol of our city, and it has a great story, and that's what kicked off Festival of the Arts. And so this year we'll be celebrating. There's a huge ceremony Friday night. I'll be there along with a number of other folks kicking off, as well as showing a little bit of history. So there will be a film that is shared. But it's a big deal. And then there's some changes happening to festivals. So if you've gone to a festival in the past, you'll see some changes this year, as there's been some new energy and ideas really brought forward this year.
All of that, and then changes at Calder Plaza that are in the works, and ideas there. So what else for summer should we be looking forward to?
Oh, there's lots of great things happening. So downtown, we just on Saturday opened up the Downtown Dog Park. So we did that on Saturday. We have Movies on Monroe coming up. We have Relax at Rosa on Thursdays. We have a lot of music and dancing events at Rosa Park Circle throughout the week in the evenings as well.
Some neighborhood movies as well.
Neighborhood movies too. So Friends of Grand Rapids Parks, they're going to be out in the neighborhoods, and they're going to have movies out in the parks, which is great. And then there's a lot of other festivals, obviously, that happen throughout the summer that we're really excited about. And then there's a lot happening out in our neighborhoods as well. In fact, just last Saturday, I was also at Garfield Park neighborhood, giving out bike helmets as part of Lids for Kids, encouraging children to wear bike helmets when they're out on their bikes. And I was there probably about halfway through the event, and we had already given out 500 helmets to kids. So we want to remind people too about summer. As more young people are out walking and on their bikes, we want to make sure that we're making sure they're safe.
Okay. Yeah, there's summer is just when Michigan comes to life in new ways, so it's lots to look forward to. Wanted to ask you a little bit about the Laker line. There was an unveiling of that. Was that this
morning?
This morning, okay.
Yeah, so this morning we came together and unveiled the 60-foot high-capacity accelerated buses that will be part of the Laker line. So this is, if you haven't seen them yet, they're like two buses put together. They can double the capacity. What's currently Route 50 that goes out to Allendale campus is our highest utilized route, and very often the bus pulls up and there's no space. It's that heavily used. So this will extend the capacity, but also it'll be our second BRT line. So if you drive down Fulton and you head out towards Allendale on Lake Michigan, you'll start to see all of the service stations, and they'll be on both sides of the street. So you're starting to see those installed right now, and then we're hoping by early next year we'll be fully operational with the Laker line.
All right.
Yeah.
So there was a time when we were all concerned that the bus systems weren't being utilized to the fullest capacity, and now this is at least one line that really is starting to see that need for growth.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Speaking of mobility and public transit, because I'm going to put my Rapid Board member hat on for a moment. The Rapid Board is also going through a process right now to do an overall operational assessment. So we just hired a consulting firm to do that, and what that will entail is looking at our current system, the pretty structured fixed route system. It'll be, the consultant will work with us and the community to look at our current system, how much money it costs, and is there a way to make changes to better meet the needs of the community, to really push more towards on-demand, but then also be a more flexible system. And so that process will be about a 12 to 18-month process that we're going to go through. And so as we start to move forward with that, it's going to be important that the community weigh in, identify what about the current system is working really well, but also where are the gaps, what's not working well to meet the needs of the community, and how potentially can we adjust in the future. So we're really looking at how do we become a transit system of the future, knowing that technology is changing, we need to be more on demand. We have a lot of folks that still don't have access from where they live to where they work, and we want to make sure that we're identifying those needs.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the big news was, since we last met, is that city has adopted its fiscal year 2020 budget. It was to be aligned with the newly unveiled 4-year strategic plan.
Yeah.
How did it all turn out?
Yeah, well, it was a unanimous vote on the commission to adopt the budget, which is great. I think, with any budget, no one is ever 100% happy, but it really is the city commission coming together and compromising, and then the city manager bringing forward something that we all can get behind, and that's what happened. So in my opinion, there's a number of really important pieces of the budget that we just adopted. I'll highlight just a few of them. There's funding in the budget for us to work with a housing expert to really come together and make sure that we're strategic about housing and all of the different things happening, especially around affordable housing. So we're hoping to move forward on that, as well as we need somebody to help us figure out what we're going to do now that the land bank is being dissolved. So we have quite a bit of work to do in identifying what we're going to do with those well over 100 properties that currently are sitting with the land bank that we need to reacquire. So we really need some assistance with that. So there's funding for that. There's funding to support a business ombudsman or a business advocate to help make sure that we are doing everything we can to support small businesses, retain them, but also attract them in the city. So we have a number of vacant retail spaces open, and we want to make sure that we're working with our partners in the community to attract folks to open up shop in those spaces. So that was in the budget. We moved forward with the Third Ward Equity Fund allocation. So we'll be making intentional, specific investments in our third ward, which we know for a long time has been disinvested in. So we have some work that we're doing there. There's funding for park acquisition, and again, this will be in our neighborhoods where we know we need green space. And then last, we in the police department budget is where you saw the most significant increase. We added on 10 positions. A couple civilians that will free up sworn officers to get back out doing more sworn officer duties. We added on a couple community police officers, which I know the neighborhoods supported, so that we're able to do community policing in the evenings and weekends. We added a position that will assist with behavioral and mental health, knowing that we sometimes need to provide support to victims and also our officers who experience a lot of trauma in some of the incidents they respond to. And then there's a position in there, and then 2 civilian crime analysts that will help our detective unit. And then a position for police monitor and oversight, and that position will be in the executive office, will report directly to the city manager, will work with community, and we're very hopeful that it'll provide a way to strengthen relationships between the community and the police department. So there was a lot of work that went into those recommendations, and the city commission supported those 10 positions.
Do you feel it aligned fairly well with the strategic plan and even the 21st century policing recommendations and some of those things?
I do. I think it aligned really closely with the 21st century policing and even the deployment study to some extent. The deployment study really pointed out that they believed we needed more civilians because we had a lot of sworn officers doing more civilian clerical administrative work, and that we should be intentional about freeing up their time. And so it very much aligns with that. And then the deployment study also pointed out that our detective unit was significantly understaffed with crime analysts, and so that's why you saw 2 positions with that.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that was a big undertaking for sure, especially the brand new city manager. One of the things he had to dive into right away.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad we had to compress the time frame. So typically we're still working on the budget in June, but our time frame was compressed this year. But I think with all the work we did leading up to the budget with the strategic planning process, that made the budget process a whole lot more, I wouldn't say simple, but smoother.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll take our first break there, and when we come back, we'll be with Chief Customer Service and Innovation Officer for the city, Becky Jo Glove, will join us when we come back after this break.
I had something really great happen to me this week. It reminded me that good things are still happening in the world, and best of all, in our individual lives. I went to the store on Monday, and while waiting in line, I went to pull my wallet out of my purse, and I discovered it was gone. I didn't panic immediately, but went to see if it fell out of my purse in the car. Not there. Then I went home to look, and it wasn't there either. That's when the panic started to set in. I hadn't purchased anything over the weekend, so I thought I'd left my wallet at work, so I called work and still no luck finding my wallet. My husband did me a favor and checked to see if anyone had been using my ATM or credit cards. Luckily, I was good there. Of course, I still had to go through the hassle of canceling my cards and getting a new driver's license. Then, around 11:30 Monday night, I remembered I had gotten a pizza for lunch on Friday. I must have paid for it, so maybe I lost my wallet sometime after getting the pizza on Friday and realized my wallet was missing on Monday. I probably left it on the counter at the pizza place. I decided to call them as soon as they opened tomorrow morning. Just as I was getting ready to call, the phone rang and the lady was like, "Hi, this is Ariana at Ralph's Market, and we found your wallet in our parking lot last week. Everything is still in it, but we couldn't find a phone number to call you and let you know we had it. We were hoping you'd realize you lost it and stop back in." This morning, I decided to go through it again looking for contact info, and I found a receipt from a pizza place with your phone number on it. I was surprised that it was at Ralph's Market since I hadn't purchased anything there. Then I realized I'd walked through their parking lot to go get my pizza. I would have never thought to call them. So my message is there's still a lot of great people out there. Thank you to Ariana for going above and beyond to find my phone number. Your thoughtfulness and effort to find me were a real bright spot in my life. This has been a story submitted for GRTV's Bright Spot, and we want to hear from you. What uplifting stories do you want to share with Grand Rapids? To share your story with us, contact Gretchen at grcmc.org.
Frederick Meyer Gardens and Sculpture Park is thrilled to announce our 2019 Tuesday Evening Music Club lineup. The Tuesday Evening Music Club brings talented local and regional musicians to the Frederick Meyer Gardens Amphitheater stage Tuesday evenings, free to Meyer Gardens members throughout July and August. For one night only, on June 4th at 7 p.m., enjoy a special dress rehearsal concert featuring 50% off all food at the new concessions building as we unveil the Frederick Meyer Gardens Amphitheater expansion and upgrades. This evening features a performance by May Erlewine and the Motivations, a special 7-piece retro groove band playing original and soul classics with renowned vocalist May Erlewine carrying the show, invoking a positive and intentional message. Visit meyergardens.org and search for Tuesday Evening Music Club to learn more about this series, sponsored by our friends at Meyer Music, WYCE, Michigan Radio, and Corporate Live.
Happy to have with me, I always call her like customer service guru, but her official title is Chief Customer Service and Innovation Officer, and that's Becky Jo Glover. And Becky Jo, how long have you been with the city?
Actually been with the city for 6.5 years now.
Wow, 6.5 years. So
don't know where the time's gone.
It's gone by so fast. So I was on the city commission when Becky Jo joined us, and it was right around the time that the city commission decided to move forward with creating a 311 system. And so you came on to help us create that system and really have a, I would say, new and renewed focus on customer service. So why don't we start there? Why don't we start with talking a little bit about your history? You have this amazing history in public service. Why don't you talk a little bit about the work you did before coming to Grand Rapids, and then maybe even give a little history about getting 311 off the ground.
Sure. Well, I came from Miami-Dade County. I know people say to me, why did you come from Florida, Becky? But you know, in our careers, rarely do you ever get a chance to do something you love so much, which is 311 implement, second time in your career. Down in Miami-Dade, I was in charge of the 311 center implementing, 100% from the ground. We have 2.5 million people down there. Yes, it's a lot of people. I oversaw the website as well down there, as well as cable TV and a few other things. Data, I was just dabbling in as I was there. Love serving our community. Love serving our constituents. Love being able to cut the red tape. So what a great opportunity when I did apply and was interviewed and was offered the job here in Grand Rapids. You know, when you are on the other side and you're a customer or a community member, it's very difficult to understand government. You know, you just want to call City Hall or you want to be able to go online and conduct business. And what a great opportunity coming up here and for the first time, second time, launch something that had never been done here. What was great about Grand Rapids is so open, Mayor, that we were able to do some things that were not even done, that we only dreamed of in Miami-Dade County. So what a great area for the people and to work with our community. This community is one of the most active I've ever seen in my career, and I have a lot of cohorts around the country that are 311s. But I always say I'm very fortunate and blessed to be working here because they like to work with you, and they're not against you. And what we found is as long as we continue to work with them to cut that, we'll call it the bureaucracy, the bureaucratic bounce, you know. And the great thing about 311 is you're able to call one number. Sometimes, by the way, I just want to make sure that people know, sometimes their cell phones don't work. So we do have a 10-digit number, the 616-456-3000 number, just in case the 301 doesn't work and you need something from the city. So what a great opportunity to be here in the city of Grand Rapids 5 years ago to launch it. And I have to tell you, we have 1.7 million interactions that we've done since then.
Wow.
And I'll tell you what, we're not slowing down. Wow. We're not slowing down. We are, last month, and I'm sure some of the customers are experiencing it, we've had the busiest months we've ever had in the history. I really think it's because of the vortex, the polar vortex and things that happen.
Yeah.
People here like to clean up their neighborhoods. And so they're really getting into that and really cleaning it up and finding different things that they need or where they can get the resources they need by calling in. So we like it being active, but sometimes I know having to wait just a little bit longer than normally, but it's okay because really our community really loves and does do so many things to be part of everything we're doing.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. One call to City Hall, as we say, 311. But in addition to the phone call, you can report or ask questions online.
Yep.
And there's the 311 app.
That's correct.
And I know I use it all the time, but I'm sometimes surprised at how many people don't know about it.
Well, we have the 311 app, which is also available online, but also on any device that you have. The great thing that I do have some news, so those kind of things that you can report right now are potholes, you can report trash, you can illegal dumping, abandoned vehicle, graffiti. Very important. High user graffiti is one of our biggest reports right now, and potholes, of course. However, I'm very excited to announce that in the next 6 months, we're actually going to be adding another 17, which are code compliance related, so you can help us report things that might be on the street, the right of way that we need to look at. This will be the first time that we've ever done this here in the city. Again, on any device, at any time, you might be driving by and you don't have time to do it. You get home, you can be sitting watching TV and you can enter it on your mobile app. So we're really excited. By the end of the year, probably in 2020, we do expect to have about 70 different types of reports online. Because what we're finding as well, Mayor, is that some people just don't want to call us. They don't want to walk in. They want to be able to do things online. They want to be able to do it on their terms, on their devices. And if you remember, that was one of the things you committed to when you ran for mayor. You said, we are going to change this website and we are going to put something in place that meets your needs, and we're going to do it with you and by you, not for you. Because we may not know everything you're going through, and we may not have the opportunity to understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, our goal was to become a digital city hall, and I believe we've done that.
Yeah, we're 125,000 strong in less than 13 months. Digital services that people have submitted online. That's huge. And the return on investment is the product that we chose has already been paid for 3 years because of that savings at 311 and people walking in. How about the time they spend on the bus to come downtown, or the time they would have to email or walk in about their report? So we're really excited about that, Mayor.
Yeah, and you can pay all of your bills now. So whether it's water bill or income tax or property tax.
Single sign-on.
Parking tickets.
Parking tickets, don't like that too much, but
I know, I've paid them.
Yeah, exactly right, me too. Single sign-on, which means only one user ID and one password. And the great thing about that, other than property taxes, the fees are paid by the city. So that means if you go on that app, you go to pay, you sign up, you get notifications, your water bill's there, drip drop, it's time to pay that water bill. Or that parking ticket, if you pay it within 24 hours, if I remind our community, you can get a $10 discount, which is great. But one single user ID and one sign-on. Before it was 9 that you had to remember. So how exciting. 109,000 as of today, users that are signed up that use our app. 109,000.
That's great.
Yes, in
That's
less than a
great.
year.
That's pretty amazing. And for water, I should remind people, you can put it right on auto pay.
You can put it on auto
So
pay.
you don't have to, you know, similar to, you know, what you do probably for other utility bills,
Yeah.
and it makes it very simple.
One of the great things that's coming up that we're working on with the City Treasurer, John Logie, is we're moving toward a monthly payment for water. Because what we find is a lot of people, especially our vulnerable community or those that do, you know, they really budget their monies, they have an easier time if they can pay it on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
So that's going to be coming very soon, and we're so excited about that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because we want to save people. We don't want people
Yeah.
to have fees because they're late or anything.
Yeah.
And so it's just, again, listening to our customers saying, hey, can you put this online and we can pay it monthly?
Yeah.
So we're very excited about that. That's coming in just a couple months.
You've done great work on that. I want to touch on, before we finish up, you also have gone head first into data.
Oh,
so
love data.
One of our goals also has been to be a city that is data driven, to have data available to the public. We passed an open data policy a couple years ago. So talk a little bit about the work you're doing around data, where people can find GR data, which is this beautiful dashboard. I was just on it this weekend looking at some of the data. I know we just got the recent ACS data that hasn't been updated just yet, but it's getting there. So why don't you talk a little bit about data?
What's really great is that we have, because you pushed through, Mayor and the Commission, the open data policy, we were able to go and start working with our departments and some external partners on what kind of data is available in the city. We are data rich as a city. We just need to do some cleanup as what we're going through right now. Right now we have approximately 58 data sets out there, and we're going to grow this year at over 100.
Nice.
We have probably about 500 out there that we'll eventually have out there in the next 2 years.
Nice.
But what's really great is the data that people have been asking for. As you remember, you were on the City Health Dashboard, which is out of NYU, and you allowed me to be participatory with that with our community. And we have all this social determinant data out there now that's down to the census tract level. Now what does that do for us? We're able to take all these different data sets and kind of look at some trends that are going on in our neighborhoods. Maybe anecdotally we thought something was going on and we felt it, but now you can visually put the American Census data there, and you can put in the data from the abandoned vehicles, and you can put the street lights out from all these different sources and start seeing trends in the city that we as a city can be operationally impacted by looking at those and making some decisions, very smart decisions on how we operate our business, which ties into, of course, a strategic plan which our city manager, Mark Washington, has put in place. The other thing that's really great, we're excited to announce that we have a new data portal tool that will help us to do some quick analysis, some artificial intelligence, it's called Socrata, some machine learning, so we can start putting these things, they can automatically feed in here and be doing this data analysis. What's even better is we're going to be working with our community and teaching them how to use this data, so maybe they can help some of those capacity issues we have in looking at our data. They can find the problems for us and we can work together to solve those things that are going on. So it's really exciting. And if I may announce, Mayor, as you know, we were just, last Friday, we were announced to be the #1 data-driven city by Living Cities and Governing magazine. We're with, you know, I always say the big boys, but I should say with San Diego, with Louisville, with San Antonio, and you know, for a town of a little over 200,000 right now and growing, what a great honor because of the things. We were the Mayor's Challenge last year. We were Champion City. Thank you for your support in that. And then from that, the work that we were doing with our data on our open data portal was so impactful from a standpoint of being able to put AMI, it's called Area Mean Income, Average Income, and then also looking at displacement to make sure we're looking at the equity and the push that you've always, everything is about equity.
Well, that's a great way to end before we get to Q&A. But I do want to say as I end, you and your team and a lot of the folks at the city have made it happen. So I just thank you for all of your hard
I've got a
work.
great team. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. So with that, we'll take a brief break and then we'll be back with Q&A.
Hello, I'm Michelle Boisvenu-Fox. I'm the Director of Programming, Outreach, and Collection Services with the Kent District Library. and I'm very excited to be here today to talk to you about the library eliminating overdue fines as of June 1st. Our library is really excited for this new opportunity for library patrons to be able to enjoy materials in the library without the threat of overdue fines. We realize that not everybody in the library can pay for overdue fines, and this is an important way for us to be a welcoming and inclusive place in our community and for everybody to have equal access to library materials. You might be asking if we are opening the doors of the library and letting everybody have a free-for-all, and that's not the case. We will continue to send overdue notices to people who use and borrow materials from the library and continue to remind them to return material. And if they don't return the material, or if they happen to return material damaged, we will bill for materials. Other libraries across the country have taken similar steps to Kent District Library. So we've done our research and we've had many conversations with others who have experienced this and have mentioned it was a very positive move for the library and the community. In Kent County, our library is participating in efforts to support third grade reading proficiency and to improve reading scores for area students. Eliminating overdue fines allows students access to material and using the library in ways that makes us a true partner in these efforts. In addition to, we have also found in many cases at outreach events in the community where we have come across patrons who talk about having library cards when they were little and have overdue fines, so have discontinued using the library. So they see a library as a place of overdue fines and not for them. And we're really excited to be able to welcome them back. Other libraries also who've eliminated overdue fines have talked about more card holders coming into the library, and so an increase in circulation and library card holders. And we love this aspect about it and welcome everybody to the library. This will be starting on June 1st. Another aspect of this is that we will also be eliminating existing overdue fines on library cards. That's not to say bills, unfortunately, but we will be eliminating fines. So again, a further gesture to our community that we are welcoming and open place. Another question that I get from community members is the aspect of a library teaching responsibility to children. While we don't see our role in this, one of the factors that our staff often talk about and make a good point is that our youngest library patrons are not in control of their library visit. They depend on adults to schedule it and for transportation. So again, we are continuing to support their education efforts by not having overdue fines at the library. So come on down and visit us. We look forward to seeing you, and this does start on June 1st. Have a great day.
Welcome back to City Connection with Mayor Rosalind Bliss. We also have in the studio learning a lot. We have Becky Jo Glover, and she is Chief Customer Service and Innovation Officer at the city, and that means a lot of things.
Sure does.
We're just learning a little bit about it, but we already have a few questions for you, and then we're going to dig in a little bit deeper to some other areas we didn't even get to touch on yet.
Great.
But the first one, we have a question from Jenny that says, I've heard of 311, but I'm not clear exactly when I'm supposed to call. Is it to report issues, pay bills, ask about services? Can you clarify when it is and isn't appropriate? So just a little more idea.
Actually, every single thing that Jenny just wrote is appropriate.
Okay.
Everything. So if you want to set up new water service, if you need to disconnect your water service, if you need to report possibly a pothole or your trash was missed or your recycling cart, you call 311, and that one person that answers your call can take care of everything that you need. That's the uniqueness of 311. Rather than us taking you and bouncing you around throughout the city, you get to talk to one person that has everything at their fingertips, and it's built in there. We track every single thing. So even though we may need to send that report for the pothole over to a department, Public Works, or if we have to send something about the refuse miss to another department, we know when they picked that up and then when they didn't, and we can escalate and so forth. Anything and everything is appropriate. And a lot of times people don't understand the difference between Kent County, state, and the city. That's okay, call us. We'll get you the right entity that you need.
Yeah.
Whatever you need, one person, one call to City Hall.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it can be if you want to do a block party in your neighborhood, or dumpster days, or anything related to the city that you have a question about. They're just absolutely fantastic. And what Becky Jo said is absolutely right. If you contact us and it's a state issue, they will identify the exact department and person to direct you to.
So typically somebody get a call back if it's a more in-depth question?
If it's a more, well, normally the thing is that over the years, Mayor Bliss knows that we've been going and taking what we call Tier 2, Tier 3, and Tier 4 calls. So for example, it used to be that we would transfer over the inspections for the permits, the gentlemen and ladies that needed the inspections. Well, we now handle that because we want our inspectors to be out in the street doing inspections. And that's opened up the capacity almost 50% of their time on the streets. So we try to do even deeper than just the callbacks. Our transfer rate's only 7%. That means of all the calls that come in, we handle 93% there. Now, it might take, again, a report that goes through one of what we call a legacy system, but we report everything for the pothole. What the name is if you want to call back or anything like that, we put that all in one report. But it goes through the proper system and drops into the people's vehicles, so then they can go out and do the pothole filling.
Yeah.
It's a really great system.
It's an amazing system, but Becky Jo has really led through the structure and the process to make sure that we're responding to the best of our ability to customers, to residents who are our customers, but also for fire prevention.
That's a great
one. And we're well over 50,000 installations of smoke detectors and carbon monoxide. Well, not that many in carbon monoxide because we just started that.
Detectors.
But if you want our fire department to come in and do a safety scan and then also check your smoke detectors and put in new ones, all of those calls go to the 311.
And that's a top 10 call. So it's really exciting. We love to help our fire department and our community with that.
Okay. Yeah. So that's just simply dialing 311. Then there's also an app where you can do this. Do you have to identify and log in and all that sort of thing?
So on the app, we only have certain things you can report.
Okay.
However, you can report those as a guest. You don't have to. You can remain anonymous. Yeah. Sometimes people just don't like to have their name associated with it, and so the app does allow you to do that. When you call, depending upon the service, if you want to call back, we're going to need, of course, your name and the best number to call you back at. Some people like only emails because they don't want to talk to anybody. That's what we tell the department. They want to talk to you, but they'd rather talk to you via email. And so we document all of that. And so we know exactly what's happening. And we're also the escalator. They call me a little bit of the sheriff. when something's just not being taken care of, we escalate on behalf of the community. We're the advocate for the community members.
Okay. Yeah. I'll say one thing about the app. I love the app. I use it a lot. You can take a picture, submit it. So let's say there's a pothole or graffiti. I do it typically when I see graffiti or potholes. So you take a picture, or actually I do it a lot, about lots of stuff. But you submit it, but then you can track it on the app, and you can see when it's open, or assigned, open, in progress, closed. And so it's great.
It's great.
It's great. Yeah.
All right. Well, that was really some curious information that it's useful. It's wonderfully useful. Next question actually has to do with the second set of things you were talking about, and it has to do with the GR data. This is from Chad, and it says, what does it mean to be an open data city? So that's
a great question. Start first.
So open data is where we make a commitment. So it started as a policy decision around the City Commission table, where we said that all the data that we collect, which is public data, the public should have access to it. Now there are some things, because of state or federal law, that are kept confidential, that we can't put out there. But a lot of the data that we collect, we should be sharing with the community. So we passed a policy saying for all of the information and the data that we collect, we want to make sure that it's open and available to the community. People shouldn't have to submit a FOIA request for information and data that really should be open and available to them as the public. We're a public entity. We need to share as much information and be transparent. So the City Commission passed an open data policy two years ago.
2 years ago.
And then really handed it off to departments for implementation into practice. So that's always the challenge. Sometimes a policy is set, but then sometimes it's not implemented to the best of our ability. But I would say with open data, Becky Jo took the lead on that and worked with a number of folks. So maybe you can talk about it from there.
Sure.
What does it mean?
Yeah. What it means at that point is that you have to have good data. You can't just put data out that may not have the correct way addresses should be so people can use it and correlate the data and put the data sets together. So we have some what we call standards and governance. And what that does is it tells a department, and we're working with all of our departments now to make sure their data meets those standards. So when we put it on that open data portal, what we find is a lot of customers, and we'll be doing some videos actually, teaching them how they can use the tools that we have placed on there to take the data and make some visualizations. Some of the things we're working on right now is, one of the things is the budget. We want to digitize the entire budget because some people they're not going to read 389 pages of a book that we put out, okay? They want to be able to look at what are you spending in the area of police? What are you spending in the area of customer service? And they can hone down into that. The other thing that's really great is that with open data, it really does allow you to see things that maybe, again, I said anecdotally when we were talking over there, but you start seeing some things that are happening as a business. We really are a business, and we run the city. We have a leader, our manager, City Manager Washington. But what it does help you to do is to make some really good operational decisions based on putting some of these data sets together. But eventually, we're hoping to do some things with our community and show them how to use this data so they can report things back to us. Maybe find some things that we're not even looking at. Eventually, we should probably be putting out, like most cities, all of our FOIA requests that have anything to do with data, just place that on the open data portal. Someone else may want that same data set. And or they want to see what kind of checks. We already do a report from the comptroller's office. Just put that online in a form that you can start playing with, and you can actually look at some things and make some visualizations. So this is what we've seen around the country, and I can tell you right now, our city is it's like they're tapping at the door and saying, more, more, more. We can't even keep up with what they're asking for. And so we have a form on our open data site at the end that says, what kind of data do you want? And by that, that helps us to try to make sure we put in the queue those things that our community wants, not just what we want to put out there, but what does our community want?
Well, and I should add, there's a group of kind of data gurus, experts, Citizen Lab in our community, and they get together and they have worked really closely with us as well. And Becky Jo has worked with them. I've met with them a number of times. And again, a lot of this is us responding to the community. You know, what about this data set? What about this? And then, you know, how that is utilized can, you know, it's far beyond my expertise, but it's amazing to me what people can do with data and how they can utilize that to make better decisions, even for their business or their neighborhood.
So GR Data is a separate site from the city's website, but you might find some of the same?
So GR Data is on our site.
It is a section of your
site. So it's at the top, on our top, what we call our top navigation. It'll be the last one. It's called GR Data. And so when you launch off into there, it's going to open you into a product called S3. And that's a geographical information system application, but it resides on our city website. And again, like I said earlier, we have a new tool that we're going to be putting out there. It's called Socrata, which is going to even put it on steroids. We're so excited. You can see I'm a little bit excited about this. I'm a little bit of a data geek, but I think data will always set you free, and data just tells you different stories about what's going on.
I want that bumper sticker.
Okay.
That's true.
No, honestly.
Which is truly, you know, going back to what Becky Jo said earlier, you know, I really believe that the recognition we're getting this week in Minnesota at the governing conference is largely because of the hard work that you've done.
It's
and your
the team.
We
have a great
pretty
team.
Amazing.
Yeah, and they're not all in my department. That's the great thing, because you have so many people that love data, but then never had those standards and governance around. So we're excited about that to help our community.
Yeah.
Well, this was so big of a topic. I almost feel like we have to visit it again. I mean,
we'll
data.
some of the people
Data Sets You Free is our next show title, possibly. But I love it. Well, Becky Jo, thank you for being
so
here.
much.
Really appreciate you being a part of it. Lots of great information. So we're going to take a break here, but just want to say thanks to Becky Jo Glover. She is Chief Customer Service and Innovation And I don't know if I even have your title close to correct, but it's somewhere in those words. But thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We'll be back in just a few minutes for some more questions from you, and the Mayor and I will talk a little bit further. This is City Connection.
The Rapidian for the community provides an alternative.
To be the eyes of somebody who's not there.
It's more honest, more authentic, and more true.
And you do have the freedom to talk about things because they're things that need to be talked about, not because they'll get readers or viewers or clicks.
Sometimes it feels intimidating to write a news story or to write a story about a community issue. What I love about the Rapidian is that they make it really simple and easy.
So it's not like you have to meet this deadline by this time.
I'll be eating a sandwich in one hand and then I'm like typing in the other.
I love the freedom to be able to write from wherever.
I think it's a really powerful experience when people are able to tell their story and to be heard.
Anyone can have a voice.
Anybody can speak.
It's a platform for the community to tell its own story in a very authentic way, and that's powerful.
A community has to be involved in order for it to be sustainable. And so it tells you something about our community.
Welcome back to City Connection, and we do have a few minutes left where we can get to some of the kind of the goings on and maybe your questions as well. So we look forward to you get a hold of us and the information on the screen how to get your questions in. But I did want to follow up on one thing that I heard in the conversation between you and Becky Jo Glover. There was mention of the recognition Grand Rapids is getting at something coming up in Minnesota. What is this?
Yeah, so our city manager Mark Washington and I will be heading to Minneapolis on Wednesday, part of a governing conference, and every year at this conference they highlight cities in a number of categories, and we are being honored and recognized through an award for our open data and data practices. So it's really exciting. Yeah.
Well, it's amazing to have Grand Rapids be a leader in that sort of way,
Yeah.
so that's great news. I just wanted to get through our list of a few things, and we try to catch up on things each month, and wanted to see if you could update us on the search for a police chief. Where is that?
Yeah, that's we are getting close. So the city manager will be announcing this week the finalists, and then next week there will be a number of receptions, and there's a community gathering. The community is welcome to attend next week with the final candidates, and then after that the city manager will be charged with making a selection. So we're really hopeful that sometime in the next 2 weeks we'll have an individual selected and that they'll be able to start. I think our goal is no later than August 1. Not sure how much time they'll need for a transition, but we're very hopeful.
Okay.
Yeah,
thanks.
and I heard that, I don't know the candidates, but I heard that we had a very strong pool and that we have some very strong final candidates.
So how many will there be in this finalist pool for people to meet next week?
Yeah, I think the city manager is hoping for 3.
Okay.
I think 2 or 3.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
All right, so we'll get some more information maybe on how the community can meet these candidates. Other thing that I saw in the news, and I think you also mentioned, is a new home, Grand Rapids Home for Veterans is in the works. There was a groundbreaking recently.
There was. So this has actually been in the works for some time. So the Home for Veterans received some state and some federal funds to do some renovations and build the site. Their original proposal, actually they had to amend because of some concerns with some wetlands, so they had to go back to the drawing board a little bit and come back to the Planning Commission for approval. But we were, myself, the governor, a number of state and local elected officials, along with folks from our veteran community. We all came out together to break ground at the Veterans Home about a week and a half ago. So it was really fantastic. So they were already moving dirt, and you'll start to see that project come to life over the next several months.
State funded?
There's state funding and federal funding, actually. So it was truly a collaboration between the two.
Okay, and on the same grounds?
Same grounds.
Okay, and
yes.
Do you happen to know how many acres is that? This beautiful area, and what are we coming from into when we're increasing
that's a great
space?
question. I don't know the acreage off the top of my head, but the facility will be state of the art. It'll be updated. It'll provide for assisted living, and so it will be more individualized treatment and space than what currently is there.
Okay, and then the idea that it will also serve more veterans, or just
no,
newer
the
kinds
numbers,
of care?
Yeah, it'll provide different levels of care.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, it's a great project, and it's really been led by the state. It's a state home. Obviously, we're very proud to have it here in the city of Grand Rapids, and you know, I don't know how many people know this, but the home itself is well over 100 years old, and it has a very rich history, and a lot of people who have dedicated time and energy and funds to provide care for thousands and thousands of veterans over the years.
Wow,
yeah,
that's a history for sure.
There's a great write-up on our historical commission page about the Veterans Home and the history and how it was started after the Civil War, and I mean it's really a powerful story. We should be very proud that it's here in Grand Rapids.
Wow.
Yeah.
Any idea when it's going to be completed? And
it won't be open until next year.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, not bad since we're already almost halfway through this year. So
that's true. That's true.
I want to ask you about Safe Alliances for Everyone Task Force. It's called SAFE, and talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so SAFE has been in place. It's a task force that was actually put in place by my predecessor, Mayor Hartwell, with the focus of looking at ways to elevate and support ideas around violence prevention. So several years ago, I had this really lengthy report, and then we tried to figure out at the city, okay, what can we impact and do, because some of the recommendations were more for countywide or state level types of initiatives. SAFE, from that came this idea to have a pitch night and to invite the community to come and give a pitch, kind of like they do for businesses. And to pitch an idea about what you think would be effective in preventing violence. And so we've done this a couple times in the past. We'll fund individual ideas and organizational ideas. There's a team that act as the judges. So you get up and you give your pitch, and then at the end of the night, announcements are made about who wins. And then the city works with those individuals and organizations to support their idea, but then also to track the impact.
Okay,
yeah.
So that pitch night, June 25th, 6 to 8 p.m. at GRPS Admin Building on Franklin. What do you have any kind of memories from the past that have been really successful efforts that have come through this?
Yeah, there have been a number of ideas and projects that we funded. One that immediately comes to mind was some work we did around doing some analysis and education around human trafficking. Obviously, that's a significant form of violence in our community, unfortunately in every community. There was a project funded to go out and do different types of programming with youth, really targeted. So it's been a wide variety of ideas that have been funded. Okay. Yeah, and some it's initial funding, and then the individuals or organizations have gotten additional funding, and so the funds we provided were a leverage for them to expand a violence prevention program. So it's good work.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, I did want to ask you a little bit about the efforts that are going on with a human rights ordinance. There's been a proposal, and where that, what the timeline for that is, and what kind of work's going on right now.
Yeah, so we are still in the process internally, working largely with our city attorney's office and the executive office, looking at some of the concerns and the feedback that we received from the community, and clarifying some of the language. Some of the language was vague, and so it's still being worked on internally with largely the city manager's office and city attorney's office. So what will happen is an amendment or a draft of the revised language will be brought forward to the City Commission. It's just not ready yet. I'm not sure it'll be ready by next week or not, so we have a City Commission meeting next week as well. If not, I am sure it'll come back to us in July.
Okay.
Yeah.
And speaking of City Commission meetings, tomorrow night is Commission out in the community.
Yes.
It's at GRPS University School tomorrow. And talk a little bit about how that works. We mentioned it happens three to four times.
Yep, three times a year.
And basically having a sort of a community engaging opportunity right before actual meeting.
Yeah. So we we've been doing these long before I joined the commission. So well over 14 years. So every quarter, the City Commission goes out and we do a neighborhood night out, where we take the commission meeting out into the neighborhood. It rotates by ward. So we this month we're out in the 2nd ward, but so 3 times a year we go out. So every 4 months we do that, and the hour before the meeting. So the formal City Commission meeting starts at 7 p.m. An hour before, so at 6 p.m. A number of city departments are out and they have booths and they have information and they have Grand Rapids swag that they give away, information they give away. So 311 is there, Parks Department's there, Water Department's there, Police is there, Fire Department, and it's really an opportunity for the community to get to know the departments, learn more about services, find out how they can get engaged. Our clerk is always there providing information about how to serve on boards and commissions. So it's really an opportunity to get to know the community, but also provide lots of good information before the formal commission meeting starts at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Always a great opportunity, and then rotating by ward seems to be good participation.
Yeah, historically, yes. It's been, although we have really good participation at City Hall as well, so it's, which is fantastic. It's fantastic. But the nice thing about the commission night out is that going out in the community, I think sometimes people are intimidated about coming down to City Hall, or maybe they lack transportation, or it's parking, or the process is a little intimidating because it's so formal. So this is a great opportunity to just kind of remove those barriers. We let the neighborhood know. Typically the neighborhood associations get the word out that the commission night out is in their neighborhood, and we have a larger turnout, which is nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, we've got about a couple minutes to go, and I just wondered, is there anything that we haven't covered that you'd like to bring up? 2 things. So Becky Jo brought this up, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it. So we're getting full gear into summer, and with that comes lots of issues typically around trees or yard waste or refuse or recycling. This time of year people are cleaning up. So I did find out last week that city yard waste bags are out. They'll be in this week. So if you are waiting for those, know that those are coming. And if you have any questions about where to take it, or if you have questions about our Domtar site, our drop-off site, please just call 311. If you have a large load of stuff you need to drop off, that is free to residents, so you can just load up your trailer and take it to our yard waste site and drop it off during open hours. And then also, we have a new recreation software program. So if you want to sign up for recreational classes, swim classes, any of the yoga classes, any of our recreation classes, you can now do that from your phone, online, and it's a much more user-friendly platform. So it's just easier to sign up. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the data is our friend for sure. These methods are really handy for everybody.
It is. It is.
Well, I think then we can close out for the June edition of City Connection and let you know that we'll be on hiatus. We're taking a break for the month of July. Be back with you in August. Keep in mind it's Festival of the Arts, and Mayor wants to say thank you. Another great monthly show of City Connection.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely. And this is City Connection on GRTV Livewire Channel 24. I'm Linda.